Today on the Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies Rapid Response Series, Did You Know CIUS Answers? A daily response to your questions about Russia's war against Ukraine. We're joined by Dr. Alla Nedashkivska. Dr. Nedashkivska is a professor of Ukrainian linguistics and is the chair of the Department of Modern Languages and Cultural Studies at the University of Alberta. Welcome, Alla. Can you answer for us today, why is the Russian language spoken in Ukraine?
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for the invitation, Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies. Ukraine is a multilingual country with around 40 or so languages and dialects spoken and in use. 3 decades after achieving independence in 1991, Ukraine continues to experience tensions, debates, and conflicts over language, especially concerning the status and roles of its two main languages, Ukrainian and Russian, though minority languages also enter into the debate. Since 1989, Ukrainian has been the sole state language of Ukraine, but the Ukrainian language suffered from a lower status due to a number of negative effects. The long history of Russian imperial dominance over the centuries, the Soviet Union's harsh Russification policies since 1920s, with their promotion of Russian as a language of inter-ethnic communication among the peoples of the Soviet Union, populating ethnic Russians onto territories of Ukraine devastated by the Holodomor, and post-Soviet Russia's continuing influence and intrusion. Not surprisingly, many in Ukraine have come to accept Russian, their main language. And Russian, therefore, is spoken not only by ethnic Russians, but importantly, by large numbers of ethnic Ukrainians. According to the latest statistical data I have from the Prostor Svobody initiative from 2020, the language of communication with family and at home, Ukrainian is used by 53% of Ukraine's population, Russian 29%. Both languages are used equally by 15%, other languages by 3%. Speaking today in 2022, it is important to underscore the transformations that are taking place that relate to language practices and ethno-linguistic identification of the people of Ukraine. Because in this episode, we focus on the Russian language in Ukraine, let me underscore the following. In recent years, and particularly after the Maidan Revolution of Dignity of 2013-14, many Russian-speaking Ukrainians shifted to using Ukrainian in their everyday practices. But there are also still many that continue to rely on Russian in their everyday use, as this is the language in which they're more comfortable and confident, and to which they're accustomed in their day-to-day life. Russian remains the preferred language of many Ukrainian citizens, particularly those from major urban centers in the East and South. However, many people in Ukraine, although declaring Russian as their first language or language of everyday communication, consider Ukrainian as their mother tongue. This is an indication of a discrepancy between ethno-linguistic identification, in this case with Ukraine, and actual language practices, with Russian being the first language of the Russian-speaking Ukrainians. In brief, millions of Ukrainians who choose to speak Russian in their everyday practices in reality identify with Ukraine and the Ukrainian language as their native tongue. As such, they retain their ethnic self-identity as Ukrainians, support Ukrainian as Ukraine's state language, and have lifelong bonds with Ukraine and its statehood. And let me remind that although we focus here on the Russian language in particular and its place in the Ukrainian landscape, the country is a rich laboratory for studying multilingual and multi-ethnic communities. Other languages such as Hungarian, Yiddish, Crimean Tatar, Polish, Romanian, and many others remain active among ethnic communities. While knowledge of economically important languages such as English and German have risen sharply over the period of independence. Ultimately, statistics shows that the Ukrainian language is the language of the majority of Ukraine citizens. It is the primary language of the state, education, and culture. The language question in Ukraine remains one of the core topics for scholars of Ukrainian studies and is now even an issue of global security. We are committed to continue our further exploration of language issues in Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you, Alla. To our viewers, keep sending in your questions. I'm Andrea Koplich, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next question and answer on Ukraine.